To a police chief who's very familiar with the issues of police violence and racial bias. Jason Armstrong took over as police chief in Ferguson, Missouri, following the 2014 fatal shooting of Michael Brown. He's now police chief in Apex, North Carolina. Chief Armstrong, we thank you so much for talking with us tonight. We've heard a lot about the need for reform in training in police departments. From what you saw in the video, would additional training have prevented the brutal attack on Tyre Nichols?
I'm not certain because, the officers in that video that were involved in that incident, clearly had been through departmental training beforehand. It's mandatory when you get into the profession. One thing I noted, those individuals, seemed to be intent on violence that evening, which was unfortunate.
We just heard in Stephanie Ramos' report that a sixth officer who tased Nichols has not been charged or even fired. As you see there, he's a white male. Some people are saying that that's a form of racism. Do you feel that that creates the appearance of bias?
No, they're two separate incidents. From watching the video, this officer was involved in the first part of the incident where they got Mr. Nichols out of the vehicle and they were trying to take him into custody. And so there was a struggle there. This officer deployed his taser. Doesn't appear that the taser was effective and Mr. Nichols was able to run away from the incident. And so as far as the assault on Mr. Nichols that we saw that the officers, when they caught up to him, put on Mr. Nichols, this officer was not a part of that assault. And so, an attempt to tase him does not equal, the violent assault of kicking somebody in the head and punching somebody when they're defenseless in the face with all your might and all your power. And so I see these as two separate components of that incident and not a race issue as far as black officers being charged and a white officer not being charged. I didn't see that white officer on that video kicking and punching Mr. Nichols in the head.
Ben Crump, the Nichols family attorney, has said that regardless of race, all police in this country have an implicit culture of bias against people of color. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with it. Now, I understand, where he's coming from and how people feel when we see these videos come out and the incidents that we see broadcast all over social media. But I work with these men and women every day, and I see the things that happen every day. And we don't see this type of activity and these actions happening every day in our communities. And so, I understand the image that, he's trying to paint, but I disagree with that. Now, one of the things that I will say, and we can't escape it, is just as inherent in our culture in this society that we know that there are racial biases that exist, but that's not just for police officers. That's not just specific to the policing profession. You look at, real estate, housing, our healthcare system, all of those systems point to inequities, but we have to be careful with painting everybody with that broad brush. We all have issues and biases that we deal with, but that doesn't mean that individuals are out there trying to harm people.
You were in Ferguson when the U.S. Justice Department scrutinized that department's conduct. What does it take to do a deep dive into an organization's culture and root out the kind of violent behavior that we saw in Memphis?
Well, the first step in that is looking at, the policies and practices that you have in place. But then the second part is looking at how do you apply those policies and practices. At the end of the day, a policy are just words on a piece of paper or words on a screen, that an individual is reading. Where the true test comes into play is how are we holding individuals accountable to the words that we have in our policies and the actions that we say that we're going to do. And that's where, we see the reforms coming in to make sure that we build in that level of accountability so we can do a better job of holding ourselves accountable and catching, problematic individuals and problematic behavior before we see something like this happen of what we saw in Memphis.
And this may be really kind of the same answer, but I know that specifically you've been addressing the issue of police bias where you are now in Apex, North Carolina. What are you doing there specifically? How's it going?
So it's going pretty good, and when it comes to addressing bias issues, a lot of that is just really doing a deep dive in the conversation with the individuals that you have to work with. Too often when we talk about bias, people automatically assume that we're talking about racism. And that's not necessarily the case. You know, we all have biases. And so for somebody to stand up and say that they have zero biases in them, that's not accurate, because we all have some form of bias in us. And so when we talk about addressing bias issues, it's really working with individuals and talking through examples and life experiences and things that contribute to those biases to help people better understand and recognize, you know, how we're processing information and how our biases work within us, so we can do a better job of overcoming our biases and working within them to where we're not seeing, you know, people be negatively impacted by somebody else's bias.
Police Chief Jason Armstrong, we thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.